Welcome to the CrackOn podcast, hosted by me, John Saunders. Crack on! Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the CrackOn podcast, hosted by myself, John Saunders. And today I have the absolute pleasure of introducing Harry James. So Harry's journey has taken her from police officer to the big screen in the Marvel films, and everything in between. An amazing athlete, amazing person. Just so many ups and downs and learnings from it. Hope you enjoy and crack on. Afternoon, Harry. How are you?
Very good, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. I'm really well. Just for the record, I apologise for my technical errors just a second ago. It's taken us a bit of time to get on here, so sorry for that.
No worries.
That's cool. So look, let's get straight into it. What does crack on mean to you?
I think in simple terms, it means exactly that. I think it does just mean getting on with life, really, whatever it throws at you. I'm quite a big believer in just dealing with what you can deal with and not worrying about external factors. I think that's probably my mindset, certainly more recently, sort of through the years of training and now having a child. It's very much a case of don't worry about what you cannot change. And so crack on for me just mean get up in the morning, deal with what you can, try and get it through the day. Small victories, choose your battles, and finish the day trying to feel accomplished rather than looking at all the things that you may not have achieved. And short-term, long-term and things like that, just keeping things nice and simple and being sensible, really.
I love that. And is that something that has got stronger over the time? Is that something that is that just something that you've always had, or is that something that's just got like more in you?
I think it's definitely something that's become more important to me over time. I think it's something that comes with age as well. I think when you're younger, you kind of worry about other people a lot more than you need to. That's something that you learn as you go through. But I also think with COVID, that's probably been a big life lesson for a lot of people, that all of a sudden you can't control everything. Obviously, pandemic happened, nothing you can do about it. You can't stress about what you can and can't do. We couldn't control the gyms closing. We couldn't control work being affected. Sitting there and stressing about it isn't going to help anybody. And so it's kind of twisting that and turning it around to make a positive out of it and dealing with what you can deal with. Yeah. And I think just having that situation and then being able to apply it to everyday life, I think that's quite a productive way to be in dealing with ups and downs, really. Yeah,
I mean, I totally agree. And that's I think that's brilliant advice generally. And on to number 2 then. So have you got an idol or somebody you look up to, always looked at it, and thought, I tell you what, I've always want to be like that person? Or
yeah, no, I thought, I'm kind of going to bail on this one. I think when I was younger, it would have always been an athlete, and it would always be an athlete. And again, outside, I think now it's more a type of person I look up to rather than a specific person. So I don't know if that's a little bit of a...
Yeah, but what traits, I suppose what you're saying though, you look at someone who's got traits, what sort of traits do you
have? Yeah, so very much, I've got a massive appreciation now for people who are trying to juggle more than just one thing in their lives. Obviously, I've been there where it's just been me and training and live the dream, so to speak. Yeah. And now to look at people who are balancing businesses and families and still striving for their own individual goals, massive respect for them. People trying to juggle all those things. So I think whilst there's always been athletes and sports people out there I've always looked up to, it's always going to be a sports person. Yeah. I think now it's very much more a type of person who is able to kind of not even necessarily succeed, but live the life that they want to whilst maintaining that balance, because it's tough, and I've got a massive appreciation for how hard that can be now. And if I can have that sensible balance and do what's best for my daughter and still be able to have me time and my training and also do my business, then I'll take that as winning, to be honest. That'll do.
Yeah, it's a total win. So on the sport front, sport has always been a big part of your life, and it's from the word go. It looks like athletics was the big one to start. So start from the beginning. Where did it all start?
So I'm very lucky. My mum was very sporty, and my dad to a certain extent, but my mum was an athlete. So from day one, junior school, primary school, doing the sports days and just loved it. And, if you've got a natural ability, I suppose you stand out a little bit more and you enjoy it more. Yeah. And then all the way through schools, fantastic PE teachers who, kind of encouraged me, took me to sports days and took me to training and kind of not pushed me in that way, but without realising, just giving me that support. So I've been really lucky all the way through school. And when you're in school... Do
you remember any of these?
Yeah, there was a Mrs. Allchurch and a Miss Powell at Bishop Gore Comprehensive School, and a Mr. Bowen. He was my gymnastics. I say gymnastics. We were in primary school, and gymnastics is not a forte of mine, but right. I do remember doing gymnastics with him, and just having really, really good memories of sport all the way through. Yeah. And I think when you're young, if you're good at one sport, you could do everything, right? They just put you in everything. So being able to have that experience of team sports and individual sports before it got to the stage where, in fairness, my parents were kind of like, you need to pick one. We can't, it's just, it's not sustainable. And, that was later in my teens. And athletics was just the one that stuck out for me. I loved it. And that's kind of where my commitments lay. And that's where I went then.
Yeah, but and we'll go into athletics in a second, but sport, I find sport such a, I'm a keen, that's why I was really looking forward to being part of this one, because for me, sport is all, has built me for where I am. And how important has that sport been for you as an individual?
Oh, massively. And again, I was so lucky that my parents were so supportive. I remember being in school and having parents' evenings and it being there, she's doing well, but she really needs to focus more on her schoolwork, and she's not going to make it anywhere with sport. And I kind of want to say now, I've done all right.
Absolutely. Do you want to have a look at me now?
But it is that balance, isn't it? And they allowed me to. They knew that that's what made me happy, and that it was kind of a bit of negotiation as you get your schoolwork. Otherwise, you can't do all the sport. But having that involvement in sport, in both team and then certainly your individual sport, just the self-confidence it gives you, I think. You're surrounded by like-minded people. My friends were all sporty, and it's a game changer, I think, especially these days.
I totally agree. I think that you look at the winning and the losing, and Gary Vaynerchuk says, well, you get a medal nowadays just for turning up, and back in our day, and lessons now is about winning and losing, isn't it? And sport is at the pinnacle of that. You need to learn to lose.
It's life. I do struggle with that whole side of it. And now having I've got a 2-year-old, and you see it already, that it's all about, oh no, it's not about winning, it's about taking part. And I do get the elements of that, but how realistic is that for life? I do struggle a little bit with that, but I must admit, I'm not saying no one likes somebody to be bragging about how amazing they are, but I think that comes with it is still being humble and appreciative of where you are. But life is winning and losing, and I don't know, but people excel in different things, and why shouldn't you be encouraged to excel in something you're good at? Because I always think with the sports days now, they sort of say that you don't get winners and losers. It's just everyone, like you said, gets something for taking part. But then you look at things like exams, it doesn't work like that. So someone's sport could potentially be their job later on in life. So I don't see why you shouldn't be rewarded for it. It's an element in itself.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because you're just going, I've got 3 kids. I'm very lucky to have 3 kids. And I think you're going to go through that. And there's a part that you do sit there sometimes and you think, he's got to lose at this, and he's going to have to take it on the chin, because I can't do anything for him. And I can't get the back either, because he's just going to have to take it,
And that's character building, right? It's like you've all been through it and you've all got to deal with that. And
totally. How do you deal with that? Interestingly, then, how do you deal with that now? We're going to go again into CrossFit, because again, that fascinates me. So the CrossFit, when you're in competitions or you're doing things, how do you deal with the losing as opposed to the winning?
I'd say CrossFit is quite unique because there's so many elements to it. So for me, there's going to be areas where I'm better than some other areas, and I think that's across the board for everybody. So I think kind of focus on where you are good and hope you can excel, and accept that you can't be great at everything. I think because it's so varied, it makes it a little bit easier to swallow that these top people are insane, and you kind of see that.
For the audience that don't know what CrossFit is, so obviously athletics, and then just before we get into what CrossFit is, how did you get into CrossFit? I think that story is, how did you get into it?
Okay, so I got into CrossFit. I did athletics. I retired from athletics at 22, and then I joined the police, realizing I did need to actually work. I couldn't be an athlete for the rest of my life. So I joined the police, and then for a few years, I just kind of potted. I always trained, but I'd kind of had a little break from competitive sport. Just did bits and pieces. I set up a netball team then in work for my team.
Where were you based? South Wales?
Yeah, I was in South Wales Police. Yeah, so I joined when I was 22.
Yeah.
I set up a bit of a netball team in the team, and then the first game I broke my ankle. So that was the end of that job. Job was really happy with me. I was in plaster.
Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, cheers for that. So
you can do that
continued. Yeah, that was. I mean, in the one season, we lost me with a broken ankle and 2 broken wrists to 2 others. So that didn't go great. But yeah, so from there, a friend of mine then had joined Atlantic Way CrossFit, which is where I started my journey, and took me along to a class. So I came along to a lunchtime class, and didn't really know anything about it. I'd done circuits and I'd kept fit since then. But just kind of got on with it, just did a class. So I remember there being some movement. It's called an overhead squat, which anyone who's got my mobility or lack of mobility will know is pretty horrific, and thinking, wow, this is pretty humbling. Thinking, I know I'm pretty fit, I'm going to be fine, and crawling out of the gym on the floor and thinking, this is brilliant, this is what I need. I'm 34 years old. Yeah.
Something about that pain that next day that you just went, let's have a bit more of that.
Brilliant. And also I was 34, 35 starting CrossFit, and finding something that was new. I mean, as you get older, it's less new things to do, isn't it?
Yeah, cool.
And so I can only describe it as adult PE. So being 35 years old and learning new skills, I was like, this is amazing.
I'm going to use that. I'm just going to adult PE.
Adult PE. Yeah, it's exactly what it was. So that's how CrossFit started. So just got into that.
As somebody that went into that CrossFit was quite new to you. Again, for audience that are sat there thinking, right, well, actually, I'd love to get into CrossFit. Is it quite an easy sport to get into?
Yeah, it is. It's I think the problem is if anyone sort of thinking, oh, what is CrossFit? And then they go onto YouTube. Just don't look on YouTube, because it's just not realistic. It's kind of like thinking I want to get into football and then watching Champions League. I mean, it's just not. There is still a level for everybody else. So in the same way that you can jump into any sport, CrossFit is exactly the same. You turn up.
And how would they do it then? Would you just say, go to a local club, contact? Who would they contact?
Contact a local box, local gym. Say you want to get involved. Most just offer like a free taster. You can come down, get a feel for it, try it. Every workout is scalable, and that's kind of the thing that works with it. So I could turn up, my nan could turn up, a youngster could turn up, and we would all do the same workout, and we would just work to the level, the numbers, the weight, the movements that you can manage, and that then becomes your goal. It's your workout, it's tailored to you, but yet you're looking around and you're in the same pain cave as everybody else, which is what's nice about it. So
pain cave.
Yeah,
I love that. And then I take you with the CrossFit generally. I know I'm going into it a bit more, but I've only been to 2 sessions of CrossFit. I thoroughly enjoyed them, but I nearly broke my back on one of them. So I stuck to triathlon. So I like Ironman. So I do a bit of Ironman.
Oh, fair play.
Yeah, I love that. I love the endurance bit of it, but the strength is always interesting. You see some people who just like yourself, just like, wow, how would you pick that up?
Yeah, and the strength part is probably my favorite part, and the bit that I enjoy the most, probably because it's it's kind of my area. But that's again what I like, is like you can come in and you can have a session where you've got like your deadlift, your back squat, and it's kind of like your thing. And the next day you're coming in, you're doing gymnastics, which brings you right down to ground, and you're like, okay.
Levels you up.
Else's
So those competitions that you see, so like you said, maybe if you did go onto YouTube, you'd see those competitions. Is that what a normal sort of routine in the gym would be for CrossFit? Is that what the sort of actions you do? Are they quite realistic to what you would do in the gym?
Yeah, but also, depending on the level that you're looking at, you've got sort of skills that are really, really high skillful levels. I mean, not everybody or not many people can come in and do handstand walks. I mean, when do you ever walk on your hands unless you come from a gymnastic background? But how much fun is that when you're 40 trying to learn to handstand walk? It's good fun. But if you come in and you can't, and you're not even happy going upside down, there's always things that you change. You'll have something that still develops that skill, always working towards it in long term, if that's what you want. But it's not a case of, oh, sorry, you can't do this class, you have to sit out. Everything is adapted. And myself will still scale movements the same as somebody who's walked through here the first time. Nobody's got that ego, because it's very humbling and it will bring you down to ground very quickly, which is quite.
No, I bet. So, right, let's go back to the police. So you're in the police, you're doing CrossFit, you just joined in, and I take it, talk us through the next sort of, how did the next stage happen? Because this is the bit that really fascinates me and I love it.
Okay, so I joined CrossFit 2015. Laura and Cara were the owners of Atlantic Way CrossFit, and I quickly kind of got very friendly with them and would train alongside them, and obviously it became apparent that I was quite enjoying it and wanted to compete. Yeah. They basically bullied me into going to British Championships in the July of 2015. So we went up to London, had a 3-day competition, myself and Laura. It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. It was amazing. It was good fun. It got me the buzz.
The way you say amazing. I know exactly.
It's just that feeling. Yeah, it's that feeling. I love it. Yeah. And so we finished a workout. And if you've watched CrossFit, you'll see at the end of a workout, a lot of us are quite dramatic. We lie on the floor and roll around and feeling sorry for ourselves. Yeah. I think I was in that position, and a judge came up and asked if a lady could have a chat with me. So I went to the one side, and she came over, and she turned out to be a lady who worked for production company. She was there from Warner Brothers, scoping for females, strong, what turned out to be Amazonian females, for an up-and-coming film. Right. Would be something I'd be interested in. So bearing in mind I'm still kind of hyperventilating, a bit out of breath, I'm thinking, is this a real thing, and what am I getting myself into? Gave some details. She just did a little video of me, took my details, and left. Laura and I had a bit of a laugh about it and kind of what would happen. Monday I was back in work in the office in the police, and had an email from this lady just saying it was lovely to meet me, kind of checked out her name and the whole email thing, and it was genuine. So so from there, a few emails and a few meetings later, it became apparent that I was going to be in Wonder Woman. Right. So it was all very secretive at the start. Nobody knew the film. It was all very, very hush-hush. Even I didn't know. And in fairness to the police, I had to ask them for some time off, because it was apparent it was going to be some weeks, but also couldn't tell them a lot because I genuinely didn't know. But in fairness to them, they backed me 100%, and I was able to take unpaid leave. Brilliant. And then in the March, I started up in London just for kind of training. We had 6 weeks of Amazonian training, where I just basically got to train every day and do horse riding. It was just living the dream, absolutely living the dream. Followed by 5 weeks in Italy of filming.
Brilliant.
So so that's kind of. Pardon?
What part of Italy?
Amalfi Coast.
Amalfi Coast. Oh, gorgeous. Yeah. Gorgeous.
So just surreal. Absolutely. Yeah.
So you filmed. So basically, you're in that first film.
Yeah. So I did the first one. So I play a character called Trigona, who's the Wonder Woman's and the Queen's main guards. Yeah. So we did the filming for that, and then halfway through that, I got asked to do Justice League. Okay. So I extended I then took a career break, obviously realizing that it was going to be a bit longer, and did that. So I extended my career break for Justice League, which was done shortly after.
Yeah. I love the both films. I love a Marvel, and I love Justice League. I really do love them both.
Yeah. No, it was and to be honest, I'm not really a film person, but I had to learn quite quickly. But I did those, and then obviously that then kind of took a year out of my time at the police, and I applied for longer. You could take up to 5 years, and I just kind of then was obviously training a lot. I was competing. I was loving CrossFit. I was coaching CrossFit. I was PTing, and I was like, oh, this is quite good fun, and I'll just extend my career break and see what happens. It went on from there, and then I was pregnant in 2018 with my daughter. She was born in February 2019, but we filmed Wonder Woman 2 in 2018. So I actually filmed that while I was 3 months pregnant in Forteventura and then 6 months pregnant in London filming that. And then
crazy one, isn't it? I mean, what a story! What a story for your daughter.
That's quite cool. So she can technically say she was in Wonder Woman 2.
Absolutely, I'd take that one myself. I would take that one. You know, I mean, what are the and then where are you now? Then you're still personal training and you've got your own business.
Yeah. So I officially resigned from the police this year. In March. I'd done 13 years plus 5 on a career break. So it was 18 years ago I joined, but it just became apparent. A lot had changed. I absolutely loved the police. Don't get me wrong. I loved it, but 5 years out was quite a long time. And I think if I'd gone back, I would have resented it. And it just kind of felt right. I was lucky enough that my business was doing well. And the role I was in the police, I wouldn't have wanted to do that now with my daughter.
No detective?
So, so I worked CID and then I was major crime for the sort of last 5 years of it. So I loved it.
Tough. I know from the experience I've got, or the brief experience, that's a tough job in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's it is a tough job, and they get a tough time. Police, they really are.
They get it. They know what they get a massive stick, and I deal with them all the time, or have done in the industry I'm in, and they do get an absolute tough time, and they should never get any stretch because
no, it's hard, and I just felt that if I went back to it now, I would maybe resent areas of it, and I massively changed as a person. I wouldn't want to be dealing with what I dealt with now with a little one, but I was just lucky that I had the opportunity to carry on doing what I'm doing now. So I resigned.
You said you changed. What's the biggest thing that changed within you through that period? Because obviously, and one of the maybe I'll ask you a first question now. Did you ever see yourself in this position now back ever?
No, not in a million years. I'd never set out to join the police. That wasn't like my lifelong dream or anything. But I also never set out to be doing sport for a job either. I'd done my athletics, I'd been training. And to be honest, I'd not had enough of sport, but it had been such a big thing that I didn't want to go into sport as a job. A lot of my friends, I went to Cardiff Met, and lots of people did like that.
That's what I was going to say. We went to the same uni.
Yeah. So everyone.
What date were you there till?
Oh God. So I went in 1999, was I? I'm 42 now, so
so I was a year before you. I left because I looked and I left in 2001.
Okay, I left in 2002 because I stayed to do a master's purely to do more athletics, just to clarify. Purely so I could train for longer. And obviously a lot of people went on to PE teachers and that side of it, and I had no intention of doing sport for a job. I was like, oh no, I just sport was my thing. I didn't want it to be my job. And joined the police. So I never saw myself going down this route regardless. Anyway, I was going to be in the police, do my 30 or what would have then been 35 or whatever they would have changed it to by the time I finished. And that's what I was going to do. So this was, as much as it was a great opportunity, it was never planned. It was very...
Because you said, one thing I picked up in the video, because I said to you, I watched the video, and one thing you said in that, you said that when you go to the gym or when no one asks you or tells you to do those extra reps. So you say, actually, one of the words you say is that you do it subconsciously, which is, talk us through how do you drive yourself and what sort of mindset have you got? What do you do to keep yourself kicking on?
No, I always say this, especially to clients now. I don't think anyone particularly enjoys in the moment. Nobody likes that at the time when you're kind of questioning life and wondering why you're doing this, and there's no need, and giving yourself these excuses that you could stay at home, you could do this. There's a million reasons, isn't there, not to do something. But then when you finish the workout and you have that feeling, it's that, isn't it? It's that feeling you get with accomplishment, that you look back and that you've done your best, that you've been true to yourself. The whole endorphins thing of it just being like a rush, like it is, it's my thing. I know if I haven't trained, I can be pretty horrible. I mean, it's my thing. I have to get it done. I know that if I...
Is that something within though? Is that something that actually you talk to yourself and you kick your own bum?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's certainly, the more you do it, then the more you get used to it. It's forming a habit, isn't it? There is, like everybody, there's days where I don't want to train, even though it's what I do and I train people, it doesn't mean that every day I'm running out of the house and can't wait to. I still have to make myself do it at times.
And what do you do then? What do you do in those moments when you wake up and you think, like I said, someone sat there now and they just can't take that first step? What advice would you give to that person?
It really is just do something. I always say something is better than nothing. And often that kickstarts you to actually do more. So on the days where I just kind of don't feel like it, again, it's lucky having a gym environment, and with CrossFit, I can come into the gym, there will be somebody here, and that somebody, I will do what they're doing. You know, I'm not so precious that I've got to do my own stuff. I will jump in with anyone and train. And I always say getting to the gym is the hardest bit. The minute you walk through the door, you've done the hard work, because you're not going to leave without doing something. So just get on with it. Just suck it up and get on with it. If you really don't feel like doing something, you know, just do something little. Just start to move, sit on a bike, do some stretching, because it normally then results in you doing a little bit more as well. Probably the biggest thing, the hardest thing, has actually been having days off, because of the environment of being at the gym a lot. I think sometimes it's quite easy to do too much, and I think that was the thing I struggled with when I had my daughter, having been training 2-3 times a day, and then realizing now I've got somebody else to think about, and selfishly not being able to just do that for me, having to take that step back. But you know what, having done all the background work, it hasn't actually affected me that bad. It's probably been better. Again, being older, things hurt for longer, it takes longer to recover. And now
you're more focused now than you ever have been.
I'm a lot more time efficient. I think I would have easily come into the gym for 6 hours, maybe trained for 2, drank a lot of coffee, a lot of socializing. It would have just been my thing. Whereas now it's like, get trained, you've got stuff to do. So I'm a lot more time efficient. And so
is that because you value your time obviously more now than you ever have done?
Yeah, definitely. And what I don't want to come into the gym and, you know, like an hour in the gym is quite precious time for me now. If I'm not working and it's my hour, that's I don't want to come in and kind of waste it. It's like, I want to come in, I know I want to get a session done, I want to have that feeling, I want to train with friends or by myself, go home. And I know if I've come in and done a training session and got it done in the morning as well, I can deal with anything. It doesn't matter if my daughter isn't going to sleep, it doesn't matter if it's raining, if we've like got paint all over the house, I've trained, it's tick the box. Whereas I know if I haven't, I find it harder to deal with stuff and kind of switch off that way. So it's an important time for me, and I don't want to waste it.
Yeah, and you look, I know, look, we got brought together. We're going to mention him, but Mark Seaton obviously brought us together. And I know why he brought us together, because we're both positive in our outlooks. Where's that positive mindset come from?
Again, if we go back to sport, I think sport just does that for you, doesn't it? I think especially individual sports, because having done athletics where it is on your own, I mean, it's just down to you, isn't it? It's like you haven't got anyone, there's no one you can blame. You've got to suck it up yourself. If something doesn't go right, it's because of you. You either haven't trained hard enough, or it's factors outside of your control. And it's just learning to deal with that. And you know, my parents had a lot to do with that, in being so encouraging with sport. And whilst they had the whole, you know, would always support me and encourage you and be there when you're having a tantrum sitting as a child if you haven't done well, and that's just part of.
I still have them now. My wife kicks me out. You know what I mean? I still have them now. You know, they're the worst ones I can have.
They're worse now when you get older.
Yeah, definitely.
I do. I think sport just gives you that side of it. I just think it gives you a little bit more of a reality check for life. Yeah. You know, you're not sheltered away.
The friends you've made and the people you made. I mean, what was it like? What was it like actually filming those? You know, with all those stars around you? Was it much different to being in the gym with your mates?
It was weird. I think because I was so comfortable in the gym, it normalized it a little bit, if that makes sense. And again, being quite naive, obviously, I knew who the people were. We were quite lucky. Myself and Brooke Ent, she's a big CrossFit athlete. Yeah. So she was probably the person I was most excited to meet of all the people. But because we were there because of the way we looked, and then you had the other girls who were, you know, actors and actresses, and were being trained to look away, so to bring them up to looking physically how they wanted them to. So Brooke and I were basically just allowed to get on with our training, because they were like, well, you obviously are doing it, so just carry on. So I got to train with her and follow her training program, and I mean, I was just living the dream, absolutely amazing. And then because we would be in the gym training probably 3 times a day, we would often be in there when the A-listers were there. They were quite happy for us to kind of carry on. And so to be in there when, you know, I remember Jason Momoa coming in, and again, naively, not even being a Game of Thrones fan, didn't know who he was. Yeah. And this specimen coming in of just, wow. I mean, he's just, so impressive. And then training alongside him and him asking questions about training and just normalizing that. And Henry Cavill, I was lucky enough to be here with him quite a lot training, and that they would genuinely ask questions about like your physique and how you've got there and what training you would do. And so it was nice to have that level, because obviously I'm, not by any stretch of imagination an actress. I didn't have anything to offer that way. I was just there because of how I looked.
Well, yeah, but you say that, but ultimately what the gym has done, it neutralized it, didn't it? That's what I get from it. It actually brought you both, because you've got something in common,
Yeah,
it's something that brings you together, isn't it?
Yeah, and something I'm comfortable to talk about with them, and it was really sort of quite nice that they would ask questions and be genuinely interested, and that was lovely. So yeah, that side of it was just
So what's next then? What's next then in the world of Harry?
Well, we don't know. We hopefully rumours going around that there'll be a third Wonder Woman. I mean, right. I know a lot of the time it's kind of dependent on how the previous one's gone. It's a bit different, obviously, with lockdown and the pandemic. Yeah. But also rumours of an Amazon-only film. There's been a bit of chat about that, and people asking, which would be good, because obviously the Amazon part is a relatively small part of the story. Yeah. But quite a big area to cover. So that would obviously be good fun. So,
and what about your own business then? How's that all going?
Yeah, it's good. Again, I've been really lucky. I've been able to, Zoom has been obviously a saviour, and I've been able to carry on PTing through lockdown. And yeah, and obviously
I do this normally at the end, but if people did want to, they sat there and thought, well, they'd love to get in contact with you. How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so if you just go either on Instagram, which is Harry James PT, on Facebook, on my website, Harry James PT, you can just have a look on there. Message me on Instagram as do, and have a scroll through.
I've got to give it you some awesome photos, some awesome. Some of them, I know I'm an Iron Man, but I tell you what, it puts me to total shame. I'm not sure if I'm going to get my chest out again, to be honest. I'm honestly, the barrel I've got, I think I'll have to train some more, I think.
Oh, no, you have to come and do a session.
I will, definitely. I will come down, honestly, I will come and do a cross, because CrossFit actually really does interest me. I'm not as strong as I need to be, and I'm relatively the distance side of it, but I'm definitely not strong enough. I think you might just throw the barrels yourself, I think.
No, you'll have to, it's Unit 15 functional fitness now. Obviously, Atlantic Way, unfortunately, didn't survive lockdown. The girls had it. Yeah, so the Laura and Cara made the decision to close it. A lot of other stuff going on with that.
Of course.
With life and bits and pieces. They were in different places by then. So,
Where are you training now?
So Unit 15 functional fitness, same location, same people really. Yeah, there's most of us as coaches. One of the coaches who was at Atlantic Way, he's taken it on, which has obviously been great for the members and for us guys. So same location, different name. It's a lot of the same people, and also a lot of new people coming as well. So
I love that. I will be down. I'm back in Cardiff now, so I'll be down. Right.
Good.
So the last three questions I've got for you, and it's been amazing so far. So thank you ever so much. So 3 non-negotiables. I've nicked this from the High Performance podcast. I don't know if you've listened to that, but so 3 non-negotiables to enter into Harry's life.
Coffee. So it has to be coffee. And I haven't realised how much I've appreciated coffee through lockdown. My biggest thing of checking what was going to open first was coffee shops, even before gyms. It was my reason for leaving the house and going for a walk with Frank. We have to get coffee. My daughter's 2 now. When we get in the car, and we'll only have one a day, it's my thing, but we get in the car and she is like, Mummy, coffee? I'm like, oh, this is bad. Yeah. So coffee.
At least she knows.
Yeah, coffee. Training. My non-negotiable is training. Yeah, I have to train. And yeah, anyone who kind of knows me knows that, like I said, that is my thing. I can be quite miserable and grumpy and angry if I haven't had my training thing. I get there's a time and place for rest days, and I'm good at managing that now. But I have to get a session in.
And what about the last one? What about the third one?
I'm gonna say sleep. I love my sleep, and I have a big appreciation for that, having had my daughter. So rest. So I definitely have got better at that. I know if I've had coffee, trained, and had decent sleep, I can pretty much do anything.
You can smash the world.
I can pretty much get through it. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Right, the next one then. So what's the biggest life lesson so far?
Life lesson, I think, is going back to what we spoke at the start about not stressing about stuff you can't control. Having that kind of mindset, I think once you kind of accept that, it makes life so much easier. You know, I'm not saying it's a walk in the park and that it's easy to think like that. But when you sit down and kind of stress about everything that's going on, if you kind of put aside things that you cannot change and just focus on those that you can, I think it makes you a lot more positive. It gives you a better outlook on where you're going. It gives you better goal setting. And just makes life more manageable, I think, because some stuff there's nothing we can do about it.
It's great advice. It's great advice, especially, like I said, I think it's even more valuable now in the times we're in, like you said earlier. You know, there's loads of things out there, the news, the this, the whatever. But actually, what can I control?
That's it. And especially, isn't it? I mean, we go on about social media and, you know, what you see and how you deal with everything that's out there. And you know, you can't control what other people are doing, you know, it's how you deal with it is what's decided. And so that's the part that you can control, isn't it? So focusing on that element, I think just makes things a little more straightforward. Not easier, but definitely straightforward.
Yeah, no, I love that. So, right, okay, so you're going back, last question, you're going back to, let's call it 16-year-old Harry. What advice now would you just give that 16-year-old?
I think even more so just to do what you want to do and not worry about other people. And by that, I don't mean people who are close to you. I mean, I think we were quite lucky growing up that we didn't have so much pressure on kids. Like I do think for kids now, it must be so hard. Yeah. But you know, where you've made those decisions and of what you should do or what people think you should do. And I think that's where sport gives you a really good grounding. The days where friends would be going to house parties and you think you're missing out because I'd rather go training. Yeah. I would just need to follow my heart. And I think I was pretty good at doing that. And I was lucky that I did have that in me, but the not worrying about what other people do. And probably more so as I've gotten older, with kind of the work I've done, and a lot to do with the way that I've looked. There's been times where people have been quite negative, especially about image. That's kind of been probably a big thing. It's something that I feel quite strongly about. I didn't set out. I'm obviously quite strong, and genetics has a lot to do with that on my training. And ultimately, the way that I've now looked has given me these amazing opportunities, which I'm massively grateful for. And I get it's not everyone's cup of tea, and there's been times where people have kind of been quite negative, certainly through social media, with comments about how females should or shouldn't look, and that side of it.
Have you dealt with that, just out of interest? Like, obviously, you didn't delve into that, but from my point, I wouldn't have thought there is. Anyway, how would you be negative about that? But how would you deal with that? Again,
I think it's being comfortable. Like I love the opportunities given me, and how I look is, I love it, and it's I'm proud of it. And again, being surrounded by people in the gym probably helps. And I appreciate it's not everybody, in the same way that everyone isn't supposed to look a certain way. So initially I found it quite hard. There'd be some quite nasty comments, certainly when the stories came out about doing the filming. Yeah. But you just kind of learn to, goes back to the whole thing of, I cannot control what they think. And ultimately I'm never going to see this person. If I did, they probably wouldn't say it anyway.
Yeah. If you wouldn't say it, I'm telling you, they wouldn't say it to you. Smack them in the nose.
I'd like the chance, I think. But again, it just comes down to, it's not worth energy, is it? The people who are around me and the support I've got and what I've been able to go on and do is far more important than, a minority. I think it's just that, isn't it? Again, just controlling what you can do. You can't, not everyone is going to like everyone in life. That is life, isn't it? It's not everyone. And
actually, I think the quicker we all understand that, the better, because I think, I've come to a conclusion that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm quite a light person. I bet you are too. We're very similar people. But I think there are people out there that will not get on with me. They won't find me, and that's fine. I'm totally accepted.
That's life, isn't it? Exactly. And not everyone has to like everyone, but you don't have to be horrible to those people, isn't it? I think that's the thing, is not everyone's going to get on. That is life. But, you don't have to take that extra step and be derogatory to them because of your own opinion. But again, it just comes back to that whole thing of, don't worry about stuff you can't control.
I love that. And on that one, I'll tell you what, we're going to end that. But Harry, thank you ever so much for your time. And
no problem.
I've loved the journey and ever so much. Good luck with the future. I can't wait to see you in many more films and flying the flag for Wales and everything you do.
Definitely. And I will see you at the gym very soon.
Yeah. You see me down there for definite. I'm telling you, I'll be down. But anyway, have a great one. See you soon.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Harry. Have a good one.
Bye.
I just loved Harry's positivity. Such a positive outlook on life, thinking about the next thing, but also appreciating what she's got. I just really enjoyed the time. Never really met Harry before, got connected to a friend of mine, to Mark Seaton. And now she is a full connection. I'm going to go down the gym at some point. I'm not as strong as I need to be at the moment, so I need to get down there and really drive some strength in for the Ironman and etc. And just generally just catch up with her, because she is an awesome individual. And I just hope that any female, male that really want to just crack on and, if you think positive in life, that is one example of things really working out for you. I wish all the luck. She won't need any luck, actually. She'll just crack on with things. So Harry, thanks ever so much for your time. And I really hope you all enjoyed that. So on to the next episode. Episode 3, Crack On. Crack on.